Someone right now is staring at an old photo of you, with tears in their eyes and regret they can't even name. Their heart is torn open by a wave of regret they can't explain. They remember you not as you were, but as they failed to see you, and the weight of their choices is finally pressing in. But this moment isn't really about them, it's about you. Chosen one, you didn't find this message by chance. The Holy Spirit has guided your steps here because there is something you need to hear, not from a stranger, not from the world, but from the one who saw your tears in the dark and never turned away. This is not entertainment, this is not noise, this is a divine interruption. There is something happening in the unseen right now. Behind closed doors, hearts are being stirred, consciences awakened, and your name is on their mind, not because you're forgotten, but because you're being remembered. At the exact moment, heaven is shifting things in your favor. You've felt it, haven't you? That quiet ache, that betrayal that still echoes when things go quiet. You've asked why they left, why it had to break this way. Hear this now. They did not leave because you were lacking. They left because the Most High removed them. What I am doing, you do not understand now, but afterward, you will understand. John 13:7. Yes, it hurt, but it had to happen. The separation was sacred. You couldn't go where He is taking you with hands still tied to those who were never meant to go with you. And what felt like rejection was not a curse, it was divine redirection. What felt like abandonment was divine protection. And now, a shift is already underway. He is preparing to place something in your hands, something they could not carry, something that was always meant for you. Stay close, stay listening. And if you've been waking up with a heaviness you can't explain, especially in the quiet hours, know this: it isn't weakness, it's your spirit recognizing that heaven is moving. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. Now, as you step forward into this divine role, I invite you to declare your readiness. If this word confirms what God has been whispering to you, type Amen below. Not as a trend, but as your agreement with heaven. Lord, I receive what you are doing in my life, and make sure you stay with me until the very end, because we'll be closing with a powerful prayer for today. Chosen one, the weight you've been carrying isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. There are burdens resting on your shoulders that no one else can see. You've smiled through silent battles. You've walked through rooms full of people and felt completely invisible. And when the night falls quiet, something deeper stirs. At 3 a.m., when the world sleeps, your soul wakes, not from restlessness, but from the whisper of something holy. The ache in your chest isn't weakness, it's a calling. You've looked around at your life and wondered, why do I feel like the outsider in my own story? You sit at the table but feel unseen. You love with everything you have, yet somehow it never seems to be enough. They've called you difficult, too intense, too sensitive, the black sheep, but let heaven correct the record. You were never the black sheep. You were always marked, set apart, not for shame, but for glory. You've walked into rooms and made spirits nervous, not because of what you said, but because of the presence you carried. Your very existence disrupted the darkness, and that light, even in silence, spoke louder than their comfort zones could bear. That's why the attacks were personal. That's why betrayal came wrapped in familiar faces. You weren't just hurt, you were hunted. Because your kindness disarmed manipulation, because your discernment exposed deception. Narcissistic spirits were drawn to your light, hoping to feed on your peace. They mistook your silence for weakness, your forgiveness for permission. But God saw it all. You've asked Him, is it me? Am I the common denominator? You've cried tears that felt like prayers too broken to form into words. You've looked into the mirror, barely recognizing the person staring back. But hear this truth. This pain is not a sign of God's absence. It's proof of His nearness. This rejection, it's not a curse. It's a course correction. Remember when the prophet Elijah fled into the wilderness, exhausted and alone, asking God to end it all. Heaven didn't rebuke him. Heaven sent angels to feed him. And then he spoke, not in the fire, not in the wind, not in the earthquake, but in a still, small voice. 1 Kings 19:11-12. That's what this silence is. That stillness you feel is sacred. It's not abandonment, it's intimacy. You were removed from the crowd because what's coming next cannot be contaminated. God cleared the room so he could speak to you without interruption. The betrayal broke your heart, but it protected your purpose. If you had stayed in that place, you would have shrunk to fit it. So he let it all fall apart so you could finally stand in the full measure of who you are becoming. The wilderness feels brutal, yes, but it is holy ground. This is where God reveals identity. This is where mantles are passed, where strength is forged. Moses found his calling in the wilderness. David was anointed in secret long before he was crowned. Jesus himself was led into the wilderness before launching his ministry, not to be punished but to be prepared. And so are you. You are not broken. You are being built. You are not forgotten. You are being hidden. For now, you are not weak. You are being made ready for something weighty. Do not despise this season of separation, for in this quiet place, heaven is speaking your name. Chosen one, let us now open our eyes to a truth that few speak of, and even fewer understand. To be set apart by heaven is to carry both a calling and a cross. It is to walk with favor and fire in the same breath. While the world sees only the crown, what they cannot see is the wilderness, the sacrifice, the silence that shaped it. The price of being chosen is not symbolic, it is tangible. It is paid in the still private hours, in the ache no one asks about, in the obedience no one applauds. You've paid in relationships that no longer fit, in dreams that had to die, in prayers that ended not with answers, but with more waiting. And if your heart has whispered, "Why does this cost so much?" know this: heaven invests most heavily in those entrusted with the greatest weight. The cost always precedes the commissioning. Think of Ruth. Her story did not begin with restoration but with loss. She buried her husband in a foreign land, clung to a grieving mother-in-law, and made a vow that would change the course of history. Your people will be my people, and your God my God. Ruth 1:16. She left behind the familiar, her culture, her language, her comfort, to walk into fields she had never seen, to glean behind harvesters who did not know her name. That is what obedience looks like in real time. That is what faith costs in private. And yet, what she could not see was that heaven was orchestrating something beyond comprehension. From her lineage would come David, and from David, the Messiah. Her pain positioned her in the lineage of salvation. So too, your obedience is not wasted, your sacrifices are not unseen. Let us also speak plainly about betrayal, not from enemies in the dark, but from those who once sat at your table. The heartbreak of being misunderstood by those you loved most. To be punished for your purity, to be doubted for your discernment. There is a grief that comes not from separation alone, but from the slow unraveling of loyalty. You gave your best and they weaponized your goodness. You stayed quiet and they misread it as weakness. But beloved, even this is known to heaven. When Miriam and Aaron, Moses' own siblings, rose up against him, questioning his authority, God heard it. Numbers 12:2. Moses said nothing. He did not defend himself. But the cloud of the Lord descended, and it was heaven who settled the matter. You do not need to fight for your name. Heaven guards those it sends. Some betrayals come not to break you, but to bless you with clarity. There are times when God will allow the masks to fall, not to wound you, but to free you from illusions. When people walk away, they are often making room for the next instruction. It is not always the enemy who closes doors. Sometimes it is God, in mercy. And then there is the silence. The hardest part, for many, the stretch of days or years, when heaven seems still, when the answers don't come, when the road is unclear. You pray, but the sky feels closed. You wait, but the waiting has no timeline. This is the season that teaches the difference between performance and presence, between fruit that is seen and roots that are hidden. Consider Hannah. Long before she held Samuel in her arms, she cried year after year in the temple, misunderstood even by the priest. 1 Samuel 1. She wasn't shouting for attention, she was praying from her soul. And in that hidden pain a prophetic voice was being prepared. Her womb was not closed in punishment, but in holy purpose, because when the time came, she would not raise just a child, she would raise a prophet to a nation. In silence, God is not withholding, He is forming. The silence is where strategies are birthed, where foundations are deepened, where pride is stripped and purity is refined. You are not alone in the quiet. You are being trusted with secrets not yet meant for public ears. And what of the loneliness, that lingering sense that you are too much for some and not enough for others? That your walk is too intense, your convictions too sharp, your discernment too inconvenient? It is because you were never meant to blend in. Oil doesn't mix with water, and glory never seeks validation from the crowd. The world praises the visible, but heaven honors the faithful, the ones who build in the unseen, the ones who keep showing up, keep forgiving, keep believing, when there is no audience, when there is no applause, when the silence feels suffocating. These are the ones heaven promotes. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. The oil you carry is expensive because it was crushed from real olives, under real pressure. And the time will come when others will want what you carry, but not everyone will have endured what you survived. So hold fast, stay the course, let the tears fall, let the silence shape you, let the betrayal teach you, let the isolation sanctify you. Because when the appointed time comes, and it will come, you will emerge not as one who merely survived, but as one who was entrusted, refined, and ready. There comes a point in every chosen one's life when the fire doesn't just surround them, it consumes everything they thought was secure. It is not a punishment, it is not coincidence, it is divine refinement. What you are walking through now may feel like ruin, but in the language of heaven, it is a rebuilding. This is the fire that reveals what cannot be taken from you. The story of Job is well known, but the lesson it holds often slips by unnoticed. It was not just about loss, it was about what remained. Job lost wealth, children, his very health. His own wife turned her back and told him to curse God and die. But what the enemy did not understand was that Job's treasure was not in his flocks or fortunes. It was in his integrity. Job's worship didn't depend on comfort, it was rooted in covenant. And while everything else was touched, heaven preserved his soul. Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. Job 13:15. That is the faith the fire produces. And perhaps that is your reality right now. You feel stripped bare. The familiar is gone. The future feels uncertain. Your prayers feel unanswered. But what if this fire is not here to destroy you, but to strip you of every false dependency? What if it is burning off pride, fear, people-pleasing, the love of comfort, the fear of not having enough? Because what remains after the fire is always more valuable than what entered it. Scripture tells us, I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name and I will answer them. Zechariah 13:9. Fire is part of the inheritance of the faithful. It proves the quality of what's inside. And just like gold, once you've been through this heat, you will not return the same. You will not return weaker. You will return weightier, with wisdom, clarity, authority. But the fire is not the end of the story. You are crossing over now, from the pain of the process, into the promise of restoration. The enemy tried to blind you with loss, but heaven has been planning a release. Not just restoration, but multiplication. For every tear you've cried in silence, for every time you gave without return, for every time you stayed when walking away would have been easier, there is a harvest. Jesus spoke of it with divine certainty. Everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or children or fields for my sake will receive 100 times as much. Matthew 19:29. This is not poetry, this is covenant. It is the word of the Son of the living God, who does not exaggerate. 100-fold, in ways you cannot yet see. Psalm 126 verse 5 declares, those who sow in tears will reap with shouts of joy. Heaven's math is not bound by time, it counts pain as seed. And the day is coming when the very rooms that once echoed with your weeping will overflow with rejoicing. You do not need vindication from man. Because the Most High is your defender, the world may have misread your silence, misjudged your intentions, even laughed at your faith, but the time will come when the very ones who mocked your obedience will watch you walk in a blessing they cannot explain. The Lord will vindicate his people and have compassion on his servants. Deuteronomy 32:36. And when he sets a table before you, it will not be in secret, it will be in full view. But this reward is not merely material, it is strategic, it is purposeful, it is generational. Heaven is not just answering your prayers, heaven is rewriting your bloodline. The blessing you are about to step into has been designed with legacy in mind. You are not just surviving for yourself, you are breaking spiritual cycles for everyone who will come after you. The curse ends with you, the poverty ends with you, the addiction ends with you. You are standing in the gap so that your children will not have to. You are building altars where previous generations built chains. Like Esther, you were born for such a time as this. Esther 4:14. She had to go through her own season of silence, of hidden preparation, of radical obedience, before she stepped into a moment that saved a nation. What she carried didn't just bless her, it preserved her people, and so it will be with you. This is why the battle has been so intense. The pressure hasn't been about your past, it's been about your future. The enemy knew what was in your blood before you did. He tried to silence your worship. He tried to weary your spirit. He tried to distract you into surrendering your authority. But he failed. You are still here, still believing, still standing. That alone is evidence of heaven's hand. The harvest you're stepping into is not just financial, it is spiritual legacy. You will pass down faith, favor, and freedom. Your ceiling will become your children's floor. Your pain will not be in vain. And even now the voice of the Lord is whispering to every weary soul, you are on the edge of breakthrough. Do not give up. Do not go back. Egypt is behind you. Canaan is ahead. You have not come this far to drown in sight of the promise. Hold fast. The Red Sea didn't part until Moses stepped toward it. Your obedience is still moving waters. In John 16:33, Jesus reminded his followers and us today, in this world you will have trouble. But take heart, I have overcome the world. His victory is already yours. Not someday. Now. Walk in it. This is not just a story of suffering. This is a prophecy of resurrection. The fire was real, the battle was brutal, but the reward will be undeniable. Embrace it. The legacy is being written through you. Chosen one, there is a sacred threshold you are now approaching. You've survived the storm, endured the betrayal, and watched the fire strip away what could not follow you forward. But what lies ahead is not just peace after pain. It is transformation after truth, and that transformation must reach deeper than surface healing. For healing is not the final destination, it is the entrance into something far more demanding and far more holy. Reorientation. Healing patches wounds. Reorientation reshapes how you walk. God is not merely piecing you back together. He is forming someone new, someone who sees with sharper clarity, who listens with discernment instead of fear, who takes up space without guilt. You are not who you were when this journey began. You are no longer meant to walk like someone seeking permission, approval, or belonging from places that could not hold your worth. Betrayal, while brutal, has a way of shrinking the soul. It teaches hesitation. It trains the heart to tiptoe, to wait for signs of safety before moving. But the time for tiptoeing is over. The time for shrinking is done. In this next season, the Most High is reintroducing you to your authority, not as a performance, not as a power trip, but as the quiet, holy confidence of someone who knows they are sent. Authority does not argue. It does not beg. It does not demand the room to see it before it stands. True authority, heaven-breathed and spirit-tempered, moves with calm precision. What once intimidated you will lose its grip, not because you've become hardened, but because your identity has been settled in secret. Your roots have grown in silence, and now your presence will speak without needing to raise its voice. And yet, to walk in authority, something sacred must happen inside you. The release of emotional debt. There is a cost to holding on to the desire for apology, for explanation, for acknowledgement. That silent hope that one day those who wounded you will finally see what they did can bind you to the past more tightly than the offense itself. The Most High is not asking you to minimize your pain. He is asking you to cancel the debt, not because justice doesn't matter, but because your future doesn't depend on their awareness. Freedom isn't waiting at the doorstep of their confession. Freedom arrives when you no longer need it. And when you release that weight, something beautiful happens. You may not feel joy or anger or sadness. You may simply feel still, neutral, empty in the best way. Do not mistake this for numbness. It is clarity, it is sovereignty, it is peace returning where chaos used to reign. This is where discernment begins to sharpen, not from a place of suspicion, but from deep inner knowing. This is wisdom, no longer needing confirmation. This is maturity whispering, I don't need to touch the fire again to know it burns. As this internal shift unfolds, you will notice something else. Elevation changes your relationship with others. Not everyone who clapped for your healing will be able to handle your rising. Some will admire you, others will project their fears onto you. Some will try to come close, not out of love, but out of curiosity or control. Do not label it good or bad. Simply see it for what it is. Positioning. As the Lord raises you, He also protects you by adjusting your boundaries. What feels like distance is actually precision. You are not becoming colder, you are becoming clearer. And with that clarity comes a holy recalibration of responsibility. In seasons past, you may have carried more than you were called to. You picked up others' burdens out of love, but also out of guilt. You overextended, over-explained, over-functioned. But in this new chapter, responsibility is being purified. You are learning that not every need is your assignment. You will stop rescuing people from consequences that were designed to teach them. You will stop inserting yourself into spaces where God never sent you. This is not abandonment, it is alignment. There is also a maturing of your pace. In the past, the enemy lured you with urgency, false deadlines, emotional panic, spiritual pressure. Act now, or miss your chance. But urgency is rarely the language of God. The Spirit of the Lord moves with precision, not panic. You are learning to pause until peace leads. Even when opportunity comes quickly, you will not be rushed, and that stillness will not come from hesitation, but from deep trust. Perhaps the most profound transformation is in how you now relate to power. For some, power was always attached to fear because they saw it abused. It looked like control, manipulation, ego. But the Most High is reshaping your understanding. In His kingdom, power flows not from dominance, but from stewardship. Power is not the right to rule. It is the call to carry something sacred, influence, words, presence, legacy. And this is why your character has been tested in private. Because heaven does not promote by charisma. Heaven promotes by trust. As all these changes unfold, you may feel waves of grief for the version of yourself that learned how to survive instead of thrive. For the person you had to become just to make it through. Let the grief come. Let it wash over you, but do not camp there. That version of you was faithful. That version protected you. But now, it's time to rise. You are no longer the survivor. You are the one who carries authority. The one who walks in rooms you once prayed outside of. Not to prove your worth, but because you finally know it. This is why the fire was so fierce. This is why the pruning was so painful. God wasn't just shielding you from others. He was rebuilding your ability to trust yourself. Under His direction, with His voice as your compass. You will not miss what you've lost. You will not long for who you were. Because what's emerging now is not just healed. It is holy, it is whole, and it is ready. Chosen one, there is a sacred truth that must be spoken before you take your next step. After every spiritual breakthrough, there is a moment of vulnerability that most do not expect. It's not because you've done something wrong. It's because you've stirred something in the spirit realm. Heaven has moved on your behalf, and the kingdom of darkness has taken notice. When you stood in faith, when you declared the promises of the Most High over your life, when you let go of your past and aligned yourself with divine purpose, it was not just a declaration of hope, it was a declaration of war, and war invites retaliation. Understand this: the moment you stepped into authority, the adversary began to plan a counter-strike, not because you are weak, but because you are dangerous. In the coming hours and days, you may feel a sudden shift. The storm may not come in the way you expect. It may not be dramatic. It may come quietly, like tension rising in your home without cause, or a strange heaviness pressing against your spirit. It may come as unexpected costs, delays, or fatigue that seems to have no explanation, and you may be tempted to believe that your breakthrough was an illusion. But this is where your discernment must rise. These are not signs of failure. These are signs that the enemy is attempting to disrupt your momentum. He cannot take what heaven has given, but he can try to make you drop it. He will distract you with the familiar. He will provoke you through people close to you. He will manufacture urgency and make noise around your peace. Do not take the bait. Remember how Nehemiah, while rebuilding the wall of Jerusalem, was constantly interrupted by enemies who begged him to come down and explain himself. Nehemiah 6:3. But Nehemiah replied, "I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down." That must be your response now. You are doing a great work in your spirit, in your mind, in your calling. Do not come down, but there is a specific tactic the enemy loves to use in this season. And it is subtle. It is called the Ishmael trap. Before the promise arrives, a counterfeit often shows up. Something that looks good, sounds right, feels familiar. But it's rooted in fear, not faith. Just as Abraham, under pressure, agreed to a plan that gave birth to Ishmael, trying to fulfill the promise in his own strength, you too may be tempted to settle for what is quick instead of what is divine. The Ishmael trap often wears the disguise of restoration. An old relationship reappears, sounding changed, speaking healing, offering apologies, or an unexpected opportunity arises that seems like the answer to your prayer. Yet deep down, you know it carries the same spiritual weight as where you came from. This is not restoration, it is interruption. If the enemy cannot stop your promise, he will try to delay it by getting you to accept a substitute. But substitutes carry consequences. If you open a door that God has closed, you give the enemy permission to re-enter what was already defeated. That is not alignment, that is sabotage. And so this is the time to stay alert. Ask the Holy Spirit, is this my Isaac, or is this an Ishmael dressed in good intentions? Heaven is not silent on these matters. God is not hiding clarity from you. He is training your ears to hear through noise. And while your spiritual discernment is sharpening, something else is happening on a deeper level, within your body, your emotions, your biology. Some of you have been feeling a bone-deep exhaustion, not fixed by sleep. Others have been waking from dreams that leave you unsettled. Others are noticing old emotional patterns surfacing. Fear, irritability, the urge to run. This is not regression, this is reconstruction. You are undergoing what the world cannot measure, a spiritual recalibration. Your nervous system, shaped by years of survival, is being rewired to handle peace. Your mind, used to scanning for danger, is being renewed to expect goodness. Your body, conditioned to tension, is being softened to trust again. This is what Paul meant in Romans 12:2 when he wrote, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Renewal is not instant. It is layered. It is physical, emotional, spiritual. And like any renovation, it makes a mess before it reveals beauty. The Most High is not just giving you a new season. He is giving you a new vessel to carry it. He is making sure that the blessings you're stepping into will not crush you. That the influence coming to your name will not compromise your character. That the open doors ahead will not undo your healing. He is not rushing this, neither should you. If your spirit calls for stillness, honor it. If your body needs rest, respect it. You are not lazy, you are in recovery. The temple of the Holy Spirit is under divine construction. And when this work is complete, you will not walk with fear. You will walk with weight, with presence, with wisdom. You are being prepared to hold what others drop. to carry what others misuse, to stand where others fall. And the evidence of this preparation is not how loud your life looks, but how peaceful your spirit feels in the middle of the storm. This is not a setback, it is sacred alignment. Let it finish its work in you. Now listen with your spirit, chosen one, because this part of the journey is quiet, but it is crucial. Preparation, though often hidden, is never passive. Waiting on the Most High is not the same as standing still. Heaven may be moving behind the veil, but you are also being called to move intentionally, quietly, wisely. Divine alignment is not just a prayer, it is a posture. The way you carry your everyday life is either drawing you into the blessing or delaying it without your awareness. This season requires more than endurance, it requires precision. The promise you've been praying for cannot land where there is disorder, distraction, or unhealed urgency. And so heaven whispers instructions, not to burden you, but to build you. The first is the discipline of intentional silence. This is not the silence of retreat, it is the silence of restraint. Do not waste your voice explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. Do not fight for clarity where there is no spiritual agreement. In practical terms, this looks like ignoring that message that pokes at old wounds, refusing to vent online